Season 3 of Star Trek The Original Series has been hailed by the majority of fandom as the worst season of TOS. But even among those subpar episodes are a few gems, and this, the Enterprise incident, just happens to be one of them. Hello and welcome to Backtrek, a web series that focuses on the background information on any given topic in Star Trek. In this episode, we're taking a look at the Star Trek The Original Series episode The Enterprise Incident to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Season 2 of the original series had been fairly successful overall, and after an engineered campaign, the NBC powers that be declared to fans of Star Trek that it would indeed be returning for a third season. Gene Roddenberry, fearful that Season 2 would be Star Trek's last, had snuck in a backdoor pilot for a series consideration in the form of the episode Assignment Earth. But that series was passed upon, and since Star Trek had been renewed, that really didn't matter that much. And so Gene promised the staff and actors that he was indeed in it for the long haul when it came to Star Trek, and at first did appear to be reinvigorated, working as hard on the third season as he had at the beginning of Season 1 of the series. Of course, though, this would not last. NBC juggling its fall schedule would place Star Trek in a time slot, Friday nights at 10 p.m., which ensured its failure, and Gene would fight and eventually threaten to pull back from Star Trek if NBC did not restore the show back to its original time slot. NBC, however, would not relent, and Gene would indeed, for all intents and purposes, withdraw from Star Trek. As if that wasn't a big enough problem for the show, there was also the Harlan factor, which would greatly impact the third season. Harlan Ellison, who was one of Trek's biggest supporters, had become disillusioned with the show and specifically Gene Roddenberry himself. Often categorized as a difficult man by those who knew him, Harlan's experiences with writing Star Trek The Original Series' best episode, City on the Edge of Forever, would make the talented writer do a complete 180 on Star Trek. And Harlan was by no means a quiet man. By the summer of 1968, Harlan had basically told every writer of note in Hollywood to stay away from Star Trek, which most did. And by September of 1968, he would drive the final nail home in a speech he made at the Writers' Awards ceremony after winning Best Script for his original script for the episode, a script thoroughly rejected as unfilmable by Gene and those involved with Star Trek. This would cause a serious lack of good quality scripts for the show, and it did suffer greatly for it. The original story for the Enterprise incident would be pitched in February of 1968 by Dorothy D.C. Fontana herself. She based the entire pitch on the real-life incident of the USS Pueblo, which involved the capture of an American patrol boat by North Korean forces during the Vietnam War. The incident occurred on January 23, 1968, just a month before Fontana pitched the idea to Roddenberry. In Fontana's original story outline, which was called Ears, the Enterprise would be sent on a secret planned mission to recover a new cloaking device that would render a Romulan ship completely undetectable by Federation sensors, meaning the Romulans could send huge fleets of starships across the neutral zone to invade the Federation before the Federation had any clue what was happening, something which would worry Starfleet greatly. Where the story differed, however, was in where the cloaking device was located. First, this advanced cloaking device would be in a laboratory at a Romulan starship construction facility, awaiting installation for testing on a Romulan starship. And Starfleet, with the help of Kirk and Spock, along with Starfleet intelligence, would plan the entire mission around that point. Second, the cloaking device itself would be a small prism-shaped device that would be easy to steal and hide by the Enterprise crew. Fontana's original story was to also have focused on the attraction between the Romulan commander and Spock, even going so far as to have the superpower couple passionately kiss in the episode. and Spock raining kisses all over the Romulan commander's neck and shoulders. And this point would survive into the final script, but after Nimoy and Linville, Joanne Linville played the Romulan commander, read the script, both were aghast about the passion. After having established both the idea of Ponfar and how Vulcans showed emotion to their beloved, the idea that Spock would suddenly become a space player infuriated the two actors. Nimoy, in fact, would go so far as to write a long informal letter of complaint to Gene Roddenberry about the issue. And at first, Gene, who was starting to pull back at this point, just ignored Nimoy, chalking his complaints up to the standard nonsense Roddenberry had put up with from Nimoy over the years. But when Fontana read the script, she also had the same issue, and went straight to Gene and warned him about the issues that this scene could cause. She explains, "Fandom would be in an uproar if Spock were to behave out of character, and Leonard was absolutely right, that the pair's interaction should suggest an alien sexuality, but not human passion." So with Fontana's backing, the scene was changed, and even with Nimoy and Linville's restrained gestural contact, NBC was flooded with letters from fans upset that canon, though not named so at the time in terms of Trek, had been broken. Yes, dear Trinaries, gatekeepers existed even back then. There were a number of other little story elements that would not survive into the final filming script, such as McCoy being altered to appear Romulan as well, and joining Kirk in stealing the cloaking device. A little bit of Trek trivia for you all here is in regards to a myth that survives even today. During the beginning of the episode, we find out that the Romulans are in some sort of an alliance with the Klingon Empire, causing them to have ships of a Klingon design. Fandom has always had this incorrect notion that this specific plot element was added at last minute to allow the production to use the expensive Klingon model to justify the cost of it, while saving money for the show. Although accurate in regards to the saving money part, and justification for the actual money spent on the Klingon model, the truth is that this particular story element was in the original pitch for the story all along. It was a plot thread that everyone hoped would end up playing out in a future story of the Federation versus the Klingon-Romulan alliance. The Howard Anderson Company would be responsible for filming the D7 model, and they would give the producers a choice. Either they prioritize the effects for this episode, or for the other upcoming episode, Elan of Troyes, which was originally intended to air before the Enterprise incident as the introduction of the Klingon starship design. However, because of the Pueblo incident, the choice would be made to prioritize this episode's model effects, and as a result, Elan of Troyes would be pushed back to later in the season. The remastered version of this episode would see the 3 Klingon-style D7 battlecruisers replaced with 2 D7 battlecruisers and 1 Romulan bird of prey. And also the Romulan D7 battlecruisers would have the bird of prey style markings added to their underside. The cloaking device itself would be changed to a much larger device, utilizing parts from Nomad seen in the Season 2 episode The Changeling, combined with parts from Sargon as seen in the Season 2 episode Return to Tomorrow. William Ware Tice would redesign the Romulan commander's uniform and casual wear. Modeled after the male version of the uniform, the female version would be much more revealing. In fact, throughout filming of the episode, Joanne Linville had to often pull down the garment to avoid the world seeing her Romulan Tel Shiar. Like the Romulans' first appearance in the Season 1 episode Balance of Terror, the background actors would be wearing helmets, and this was done for several reasons. First, to save money on prosthetic ears, of course. But the second, and perhaps more interesting point, was because the show was actually having problems keeping said ears attached to the actors. Oftentimes while filming, the ears would simply fall off the actors. In fact, if you watch the Romulans in this episode closely, you can see some scenes that end up being filmed where one of the ears is missing on some of the Romulans, being included in the final cut of the episode when no one noticed what had happened. The episode would also have the honor of being the first Star Trek episode to feature a female starship captain. As previously stated, Joanne Linville would play the Romulan commander, the name of who the audience would never learn. Linville had an extensive acting career, acting right up until 2016. She and fellow actress Irene Gilbert founded the Stella Adler Academy in Los Angeles in 1985. She brings a certain poise and grace to the role that keeps you glued to the screen. And even with the shortest skirt uniform ever created, she still seems to be far more than just a sex symbol, actually seeming to be competent and a believable starship commander. A little bit more Trek trivia for you all here is in regards to the character returning to reprise her role in Star Trek The Next Generation. For the Season 6 episode Face of the Enemy, Linville was supposed to return to the role and play the Romulan commander of the starship that Troy was aboard. Unfortunately, however, due to scheduling conflicts, Linville was not available, leaving fandom to wonder what the episode would have been like if she had returned. Jack Donner would play the Romulan commander's faithful first officer Tal. Jack would also have an extensive acting career, but perhaps most interesting, he would return to Star Trek in the Star Trek Enterprise Season 4 episodes Home and Kishara as the Vulcan priest. Jack Donner died on September 21st, 2019, causes unknown. And finally, John Meredith Lucas would direct this outing into the Star Trek universe. Lucas directed 3 episodes, wrote 4 episodes, and produced 10 episodes of the original series. Lucas himself died of leukemia on October 19, 2002. Reception for the episode was overwhelmingly positive, with the majority of fandom embracing this episode as one of the best episodes of Season 3 of the original series, and I would tend to agree with that assessment. The Enterprise incident is filled with mystery and adventure, showcasing a thoughtful story where the pieces all seem to connect almost effortlessly. And this in itself has earned this episode its place, dear Trinaries, in Star Trek history.
That's a Klingon ship.
Your ship is surrounded, Captain.
You board this ship, I'll blow it up.
I must see your authorization.
Over there.
Accept what is happening between us.
I cannot allow the captain to be further destroyed.
I say now that Captain Kirk ordered the Enterprise across the neutral zone on his own initiative and his craving for glory.
That's a lie.
He is not sane.
You lie! I'll kill you!
You will take a small band of Romulans aboard the Enterprise as its commander. By your own standards of normality, this man is not fully competent.
No, not now.
The doctor has now confirmed your testimony.
I instinctively used the Vulcan death grip.
Your instincts are still good. The captain is dead.
Thank you for watching today's episode of Backtrek. What do you think of the Enterprise incident? Would you rate it as one of the best of Season 3 of Star Trek The Original Series? Well, leave your comments in the section below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel outfox the Romulans? Then consider becoming a channel patron. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Jolantru.